When I think about the future of content creation, I see it as a way for creators to make passive and consistent income off of content they've already produced once, so that then they can choose to focus their time and efforts on the projects that excite them the most. What's one way to do this? Through ad revenue. Today, I'm going to give you a complete overview of monetizing your blog using an ad network so that you can make money while you sleep. Hey there everyone, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Austen and I am a fashion and beauty content creator based in New York City. Here on my YouTube channel, I teach micro-influencers how to create great content, grow their digital brands, and make sustainable income from content creation. So if any of that interests you, please do consider subscribing to my channel for new videos every Tuesday. Now, when I first heard about passive income and making money while you sleep, it kind of sounded too good to be true. But the reality is that it's not, and anyone can do it. I currently have 3 passive income streams for myself, and those 3 passive income streams made up about 17% of my income in 2021 as a content creator. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about one of my newest passive revenue streams, which is ad revenue from my blog. So we'll be reviewing what ad networks are, how to qualify for them, and how to get the most out of them. Let's jump right in. First, I just want to say, for any skeptics out there, not only are blogs not dead, but they are more relevant and important than ever before. There are some content creators out there who are earning 6 figures in revenue solely from ads on their blog. Not to mention, if you know me at all, I think having a blog or something that is yours on the internet is so important in addition to building platforms and communities on social media. So quite simply, an ad network is a way to run ads on your blog. Publishers work with an ad network and then those ads display on your site. So I wouldn't have to go to Sephora, for example, and go to someone who works in their advertising department and pitch them on running ads on my blog and why I'm a good fit and all of these different things, and potentially not even hear back, plus have a lot of extra work to do on my end. So the beauty of an ad network is that they find the advertisers for you, and then those ads will display on your blog. So not only are ad networks recruiting advertisers, but they are also recruiting publishers. I call publishers bloggers, but many of them refer to those bloggers as publishers because those are the websites that advertisers will want to place their ads on. So if this sounds good to you, you might be wondering, okay, so how do I get into an ad network? What does that look like? And before I tell you, I wanted to quickly define the difference between page views and visits on a blog, because I'm going to be using both terms pretty heavily throughout the rest of the video, and I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. So unique visitors refers to how many individual people viewed your blog or website over time. Page views occur whenever a full page of your blog is viewed or possibly refreshed. Someone may refresh a page of your blog or view it more than once, and so as a result, you are always going to have more page views than you will have unique visitors for your blog. Now, getting back into the ad networks, pretty much all of them work in the same way, where you will have some kind of application process to join the ad network. So for the most part, these ad networks run very similarly to each other, but they all have some different requirements and also benefits once you join them. But a few of the kind of common requirements across the board that you can expect when you want to apply to an ad network are, number 1, that you have a blog or website that is at least 90 days old or 3 months old. Another really important requirement pretty much across the board for these ad networks is that you are publishing your own original content. So I don't know if you guys remember in 2010 when we all had like Tumblrs and you could reblog other people's content or reshare things. You know, that was an easy way to kind of curate a lot of content online, but you really need to be not just curating, but creating your own original content to qualify for an ad network. And then lots of them have certain thresholds or audience requirements before you can apply to them. And the reason for this is because if advertisers are paying to display their ads on a blog, they want to know that A, the readers of that blog might be interested in what they are advertising, and B, that there is actually an audience there to advertise to. So today I wanted to walk you through 5 major ad networks that I and many of my blogging peers are part of. And this is the list I wanted to share because in my eyes, these are all pretty reputable and well-known, and I think there's a good cadence of requirements for whatever part of your blogging journey that you're at. Let me review these 5, and I'm going to go from what is the easiest to get into up to what is the most competitive. Okay, so number 1 is actually Google AdSense. Now, I actually use Google AdSense here on my YouTube channel, so when you see ads on my YouTube videos, that's all run through Google AdSense because Google does own YouTube. But you can also use Google AdSense for your blog. From what I've seen online, you can apply anytime to join Google AdSense, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you will see a return from it, again, if you are a newer site or you do have lower traffic. I saw an article from growtraffic.com about Google AdSense when I was doing research for this video, and I liked that they kind of pitched it as you should aim to have at least 250 visits. Remember, we talked about visits versus page views a day before you apply to Google AdSense to actually start to see some meaningful revenue from it. If you are looking for a step up above AdSense, there is Azoic, and Azoic requires 10,000 page views per month to join. As you'll notice, these ad networks do sometimes fluctuate their requirements between page views and visits, so just make sure you take that into consideration if you're applying for any ad networks. So Azoic is another great option if you really have started to hit a stride with your traffic and you're now consistently getting 10,000 monthly page views, then you can consider applying there. Next, I'm going to move on and talk about the ad network that I am a part of, and that is She Media. Now, She Media does require 20,000 monthly page views at least to join their program. However, my blog was slightly under that when I applied, and I was able to get accepted. So if you think you're on the cusp of one of these ad networks, you can look at their requirements to see if they accept rolling applications or if you can apply at any point, and once your traffic hits a certain threshold, they might be able to approve you. But I was able to get in a little earlier ahead of that 20,000 page view benchmark with She Media, and I'm so grateful that I did. I've been on the ad network now since October 2021, so it has only been a few months, but just because I can really speak personally to this one, I just wanted to say that so far I've been really impressed. I like the quality of ads on my site. I've seen ads for like Sephora, Squarespace, like brands that I actually use and like. They don't feel spammy, and I am in control of how many are kind of displaying at any given point. So I have recently added some little video pop-up ads. Video ads typically have a higher revenue per mille, which we will talk about later too, than regular static ads. And so I have really been liking it so far, and I've definitely started to see some great consistent revenue from it. One thing to note about She Media, as the name suggests, is that they do typically want you to have a majority female audience. So again, you'll see the different requirement breakdowns when you go to apply for these different ad networks, but many of them are interested in some different, age breakdowns, location breakdowns, and in this case, gender breakdowns. Let's move on to the big 2, as I think they're kind of known in the blogging industry, and that is Mediavine and AdThrive. Now, lots of bloggers strive to apply and get into these 2 networks, and it's easy to see why once you start hearing about how much money these people make. Let's start out talking a bit about Mediavine. So Mediavine is a really prestigious ad network. They require 50,000 unique visits a month. So think about that as more like in the range of 60 to 80,000 page views to get those 50,000 unique sessions. A few days ago, a girl who is in one of the blogging Facebook groups that I'm a part of posted that she uploaded a new episode of her podcast that was a 2021 income breakdown of her business, and I saw that she was a Mediavine blogger. So I listened to the podcast episode. I'll link it down below for you guys if you're interested. I found it really interesting to listen through her whole income breakdown and her business journey as a content creator, but I did make note of her traffic and revenue from Mediavine in 2021, and I wanted to share it. Okay, so Elise from What the Fab said that she had about 120,000 page views per month by the end of 2021 that she had built up, and that she made $21,000 from Mediavine ad revenue in 2021. So that's almost $2,000 a month. completely passively. I mean, that is some really good money made from just creating content once. Because again, remember, the beauty of these ad networks is you create content once, and when you're creating for a searchable platform like a blog, that content can resurface over and over again, unlike content on Instagram. And similarly with AdThrive, they require 100,000 monthly page views to apply and also require a majority of traffic within the United States. So that is a run through of 5 different ad networks from, hey, you can join and start today, all the way up to having 100,000 monthly page views. And again, there are plenty more ad networks out there other than these 5, but these are the ones that I'm most familiar with and that I see a lot of other professional bloggers using and working with. If you are on the newer end of the creator spectrum and you're still working through trying to figure out if maybe a blog is the right way for you to go with your content, or you're still trying to decide what exactly you want to create content about, I did just want to mention that I cover both of those topics in my free guide called the Influencer Launchpad. So I created this guide with all of my fellow content creators in mind, and within this guide you'll find a quiz about which platform might be best for you, a blog being potentially one of them, how to find your content pillars and develop a consistent posting schedule, and plenty more tips. So if you're interested, I will leave a link to that guide down below in the description box, or you could simply head to austentosone.com/subscribe to get your free guide and also get on my weekly creator email newsletter. Now I wanted to get into a bit more of the nitty-gritty details about how these ad networks are actually calculating your revenue and how you get paid. So the first thing to remember is that pretty much with all of these, you are going to be getting a revenue share with your ad network from the ad revenue. So what that typically means is, like, for example, Mediavine will take 25% of your ad revenue for being the ones who are hosting your ads and getting the advertisers and displaying the ads and doing all of that back-end work, and you, the creator, will keep 75% of that. So that's just how Mediavine does it, but pretty much all of these ad networks do have some kind of split like that. And I know I gave Elise as one example of how much money you can make depending on traffic, but there are many different factors that do go into calculating your specific ad revenue for your site, because you could have a site with lower traffic than that and be generating more money, or you could have just as many page views but maybe be generating less money. So one thing that this comes down to is how your blog's individual RPM is calculated. RPM, which I mentioned before, stands for revenue per mille, which is Latin. I know we have to go throw Latin into this just to make it more complicated, but what it really means is revenue per 1,000 views. So pretty much every blog has a unique RPM, which means that you and I could potentially have the same amount of page views per month on our blog, but your RPM might be higher than mine, or mine might be higher than yours. There are a bunch of different factors that go into RPM for your blog, such as your click-through rate from Google search, your bounce rate, and how long someone is actually staying on your site, so the duration and retention rate of blog users. This is where you do have some control over your RPM, because in the case of blogging, it's up to you, the blogger, to create really great, typically long-form, engaging content to keep someone on your site for longer. Now, we could probably do a whole other video about this, but I'm sure you've heard the phrase, niche down, whether we're talking about content you create for your social media channels or content that you might be wanting to create for a blog. And the reason I think niching down is even more important from a blogging perspective is because, again, if you're thinking about retaining someone on your site who's just found it for the first time, one way that you can retain someone is if they happen to do a Google search and they found a really great recipe that you made for one sheet pan chicken or something like that, and they're reading through the recipe and they're really liking it and thinking, sheet pan recipes are so easy, they require really little cleanup, I would love to do more of that. Well, wouldn't it be great if you happen to also have 20 other sheet pan recipes on your website so that that person could, find and continue to come back to your blog for that content? Now you might be thinking, sheet pan recipes, that's really specific. Yeah, you would be surprised. I know, especially in food, I know one blogger who does all like crock pot and slow cooker recipes. Her entire website is dedicated to that. And so she is now the go-to source for that because when you think about how Google's algorithm works, they really value three things. They have an acronym called EAT, and EAT stands for expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. So if you become the go-to source for crockpot recipes or sheet pan recipes, then Google will start to see that you're creating all of this content on one particular topic, and you will start to rank higher. And that's a great way to differentiate yourself if you are in a competitive space like food, because if you're just a general food blogger and you post like, I don't know, a pudding recipe here and like a breakfast burrito there, Google's not really going to know what to do with you. But if you are the #1 authority for interesting sheet pan recipes or cheese boards or slow cooker recipes, that lets Google have a clearer picture of exactly what type of content you're creating so that you are more trusted and seen as a bigger authority in that space, and they will know to recommend you once you start building traffic around those keywords. That was a very, very brief overview of how Google's algorithm works, but you should subscribe and stick around if you are interested because I put up a poll a few weeks ago about what content you guys wanted to see from me. A lot of you were interested in searchable platforms, which made me very proud, I will add. And I am planning some upcoming videos about optimizing for search and how to write SEO-friendly blog posts. So stay tuned for those in the coming weeks. And if you have any questions ahead of those videos, let me know in the comments down below. And the last thing I just wanted to mention before I wrap up this video is how and when you actually get paid out from these ad networks. So every ad network will vary slightly, but most of these ad networks do operate on either a net 30 or net 60 payment basis. So typically when you work a full-time job, you get paid bi-weekly and you get paid a salary. However, in the world of freelancing and being self-employed and being a content creator, we are often subject to either net 30, net 60, or hopefully never, but occasionally net 90 payment terms, which means that you will get paid 30 or 60 or 90 days after your project wraps or your month wraps. So that just means that for any ad revenue I made in January, I will be paid 60 days after the end of the month. So I will probably expect to get paid for January around the end of March. So if you're interested in seeing, what these ads actually look like on my blog, it's always linked in the description box down below, so you can head over to Keep Calm and Chiffon and see what it looks like. If you have any questions for me about what you saw in today's video, please leave them down below. I always will try to read and respond to as many of them as I possibly can. You can also always come say hi on Instagram and send me a DM. I love getting to talk to you guys and connect with you there, and I do share a bit more behind the scenes of my day-to-day as a self-employed content creator on stories. So if that interests you, feel free to come say hi, subscribe to my channel, turn on the notifications so that you never miss a video from me, and do please give me a big thumbs up down below if you did enjoy this video. That helps my channel out so much and indicates to me what type of content you're enjoying the most. I'll be back again next week, I think, with some content about searchable platforms, so I hope to see you then, and until then, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye!